All right, this is Jason Roberts, and I want to take a few minutes and talk to you about what I've got cooking for June because I think that we all get caught up in the hype of real estate investing and whether or not people really do what they say they're doing. And that I want to show you some real deals that I'm working right now that are going to net me net profit almost 150 grand in the month of June. So, and I said that 150 grand, and that's my money. That's not. I don't have to still pay contractors. That's net net. So I want to walk you through these deals and how I did them, and more importantly, how you can do them too in your market, because I don't do anything different than anybody else. I just take massive action and I make stuff happen. I wanted to highlight this because I think it's important in the climate right now where, in the last couple of times I speak, some people said that they're having a hard time with HUD right now. There's not as much inventory, or their short sales are down. And I want to kind of walk you through these deals because for the last 2 years, if you've been following me, I've been doing 99% short sales and maybe 1 or 2% anything else. And that's kind of changed lately. In 2012, the amount of short sale leads that I had in my market here in St. Louis went from about 100 foreclosure filings a day within an hour radius from my office down to about 20 a day. And it's still kind of hovering at 20 a day. And I can still make a good living at 20 a day, but I'm trying to do a little bit better than a good living. So I've had to kind of look at some other strategies. And so when I say, a HUD deal, one of the deals I'm going to show you on here, which is one of the best deals for the month of June that I'm going to sell, came from HUD. It's my first HUD that I've ever done in my whole life. So it's not like I've been doing HUDs, and while you're listening to this, you say, well, that's easy for Jason to do because he's been doing this for so long. I've never done a HUD house in my entire life. So I want to kind of walk you through some of the things I've been doing for a while that's working, but also some of the new things that I've branched out and tried. And for any of you that are in real estate investing or wanting to grow your real estate investing business, I'm not saying get 20 different strategies going because I don't think that you can be really good at any one of them if you're doing too many different things. But there are some things that you can kind of systematize and make to where it's not really taking any additional effort, and rely on some partnerships and JVs and things like that to help get somebody else doing the work and you still getting the property in the end. So the first one that I want to talk about is this property right here. I bought this, as you can see, on March the 12th. This was a short sale here, right, pretty much 10 minutes away from my office. We had been working this file for 2 or 3 months. We closed on it on March the 12th or March the 11th, 2013. My purchase price was 140 grand. You can see this is from the recorder's website that I just copied and pasted that so you can see what I bought it for. This is what the house looks like, and we did a little minor rehab. You can see we did a little cheap landscaping just to give it a little more curb appeal because it didn't have any landscaping at all. And we went in and just kind of did a carpet and paint, some new countertops, didn't spend a ton of money on it. And I could have probably sold it just the way that it was, but I don't know. I'm always kind of a fan of just freshening it up. I want stuff to sell fast. My goal, and it should be your goal too, is to have the nicest house in the subdivision at the best price. So whatever that means, I look at the comps and I say, how can I be a little bit nicer than them, make the property feel a little bit newer, but also still be a little bit cheaper than the other property. So that's kind of part of my recipe. The other thing I'll do, which you'll notice in all these slides, is something that my coach taught me, and I didn't listen to him for probably a year and a half because it's hard to do, especially when you're trying to maximize profits. But what he told me, and I'll tell you the same, is I would price the property about $10,000 lower than what you want to sell it for, unless you're just 100% sure that the price you're going to list it at is going to make it fly off the shelf. What I do is I put the property in the MLS on Monday, and I put it about $10,000 less than what I think I should sell it for. And then I put in the agent remarks that I'm not going to have any showings allowed until Saturday open house from like 12 to 2 is what I do. And then I do a Sunday from 1 to 3. And what that does, if you're asking yourself, I think some of you probably already know the answer, but if you're thinking about this, what happens is instead of having showings all week long where, I have 1 or 2 showings on Monday and 2 on Tuesday and 1 again on Wednesday, is everyone that sees this thing all week long, plus it's priced aggressively, plus it's been cleaned up a little bit and the pictures look really good, is on Saturday open house, I end up having 15 people show up at the property all at the same time. And my goal with selling a house is to get as many offers, to create as much buzz, to create, when there's 15 people that all show up at the open house at the same time, it does something psychologically to you that says, oh my gosh, if I want this house, I better act on it right now. And what happens is I almost every time sell it that very first weekend, almost every single time. I almost every time get multiple contracts, which is exactly what you want. And what you can do with multiple contracts is put people in a highest and best situation where you can call each one of them and say, hey, thank you for submitting your offer. We did receive several other contracts, and I need you to come back with your highest and best. What ends up happening is I sell the house the very first day, and typically it gets bid up over list price, and I end up getting the number that I wanted to begin with, but I don't have to go through the stress and the time and the worry of whether or not it's going to sell. This is the way that I get it sold quick, because for me, I'd rather make a little bit less money. If I can sell the house the very first day and I make $5,000 less than I would if I sat on it for 30 days, I would take that all day long. And the reason is I want to turn property and put money in the bank. I don't want to be caught up and stressed and worried and have 2 or 3 properties that are all sitting on the market active that aren't selling and occupy all that mental space. I just want to get on to the next deal and turn another profit. So this one I did not get full list price, but I got close, and I knew that kind of going into that this one was a little bit skinnier of a deal. I thought my numbers were good. They weren't perfect, but you can see I put this property on the market on May the 6th, and it looks like on May the 7th I got a contract. So what I ended up taking was a $180,000 purchase price, 30-day closing, pretty clean contract, and I'll kind of run through the numbers with you a little bit on this one. This one was a short sale. I bought it on March the 12th. Did a little minor rehab, spent $9,500 on it. I sold it on May the 7th, so under 60 days with a June 7th close date. So we haven't actually closed out yet, but we're past loan commitment, and it's pretty much already in stone. Commission and holding costs were $10,400. That's money that I have to use to fund the deal, and utilities and things like that. So these are true numbers. These are all my costs. There's nothing else that comes out of this. This is my true net. Commission credit on purchase. My wife is a real estate agent, so when we do a short sale, we actually get the commission when we buy it. So we got that commission on top of the spread, which gives a total net profit, net of $28,500 that'll come to me. That was on 14 Cherokee. The next one I want to show you is 429 West Adams. This one was also a short sale. And this is actually the first property that I've ever wholesaled. Pretty much all the deals that I do, I sell on the MLS just straight up to an end buyer, that gets permanent financing and normal loan, just like a normal property. This is the first one I actually ever wholesaled. And you can see that I bought this property on April 30th, 2013. So about a month ago, I bought this house. I purchased it for $40,000 on a short sale. On March the 7th, 2013, I got a contract for $85,000 just by sending this out to one of our local RIA groups for people that were looking for property. The guy who actually referred me this deal is a real estate investor here in St. Louis, but he doesn't specialize in short sales. He does different kinds of things, and I met him, and he said, hey, Jason, can we work out some kind of a deal if will you process my short sales, and you can have the deals, and then when you find something that I like, you send it to me. So on this one, we just sent it out to the group, and there were several investors that were interested in it. They actually want to build on the property, so they're just going to bulldoze the house down and use it for the lot. But some of you may be asking, why is this dated March 7th and you didn't actually buy it till April 30th? Well, that's kind of the cool part about the short sale is I was actually able, once I got the approval in writing from the bank, which I got at the end of February, I was able to market the property before I ever had to close on it. So I had my buyer ahead of time, after the bank gave me approval, but before I had to close on it, I already had my buyer lined up. I closed on it on April 30th. This is a picture of the property. And I didn't have to do anything. I bought the house for $40,000. I have no rehab costs. I sold it with a June 1st close date, so it's going to be closing any day. Actually, we actually just closed on it last week while I was out of town, so it's already closed. Sold it for $85,000. There was no commission and holding costs because we just did it straight up. There was no commission credit on the purchase. We just straight up bought it. There's no rehab, no nothing. I've never even stepped foot in this property, and it netted me out net profit of $45,000. The last one I want to show you is a HUD home. I have never invested in HUD in my entire life. I have a buddy of mine that has been doing HUD for a long time, and I was talking to him saying, my short sale leads are down and I need another acquisition method, and he kind of worked with me on starting to submit bids on HUD, and this was the very first one we got accepted. And I want to talk to you about this a little bit because I think some people, they throw some bids out there the first day and they don't get anything, and so they give up. We bid on every property that was in our target area every single day. And what happens when you send those bids out to HUD is they come back with a counter. Well, this property was listed for $199 and HUD had an appraisal for $199. Well, my kind of recipe for what I'm willing to buy is 65% of after repair value minus repairs. That's probably the oldest recipe for REO and HUD and even short sales that there is, and it's been one that's been good for me too. If it's a real strong area, I may go to 70%, but 65% is kind of the rule. So my number on this was 135, was the highest that I was willing to go. So I just every day went into HUD and kept bidding 135, and they kept countering me at 180 and 170. And one morning I woke up and I had the approval. So this is one that I bought and closed on March 27th. You can see we got it for $134,758. And my slide will turn here. It's a picture of it. It's a detached kind of condo. It's a house. It was 1,600 square feet, finished basement, really cool place. Didn't need much work. It was another kind of cosmetic carpet and paint kind of deal. Another one that I could have probably sold in its existing condition. But the comps, I knew this was going to be a home run because there wasn't a single property that had sold in the last year under $230,000, and they're all exactly the same. It's a subdivision with all the same houses. I don't know why HUD let me buy this for what they did, but again, it comes from just submitting the offers every day, and when they decide that they need to liquidate property, then you get one for a steal. You can see again, I did the same thing on this. On May 6th is when we put it into the MLS, but we said no showings until the open house on Saturday. And on Saturday we got I don't know if it was on Saturday actually, we got the contract on Saturday, and I think we went back and forth a little bit. What we ended up accepting was a full price contract at $229 with no seller paid closing costs or anything. So I bought this place on March 27, 2013 for $134,750. I spent about $13,000 in rehab costs. We sold it the very first day with a June 15th close date for $229,000. Commission and holding costs were $11,870, and I did get a commission credit from HUD on the purchase for $4,000. So total profit $73,490. That's net. That's money that goes straight into my bank account. There's no more bills that have to be paid out of that. That comes straight to me. So that's what June looks like for me. 3 closings, and we've actually got some other little A to C deals and some other smaller ones that I didn't even put on here, but that's what my paycheck's going to look like for the month of June flipping houses. And you can't live on it, but it's a start, It's what can really happen in real estate. I know if you're listening to this call, you're thinking, man, if I just did that in a year, I'd be extremely excited. I did that in a month, and I probably spend an hour or two a day on my real estate investing business. So this is something that you can absolutely do if you put the strategies in place and make them happen. And I just wanted to give you real life proof that that it can be done and that you can do it too, by showing you my HUDs and showing you the properties and kind of walking you through the different acquisition methods that I use to acquire the property. So if you have any questions, please visit me at www.jasonroberts.tv. And that's it for this one. Thanks, guys.